Our topic is signal functions, hormones, and neurotransmitters. In order for cells to communicate with other cells, they need to signal messages to each other. Proteins are vital for this process. Hormones are the body's chemical messengers. They travel in your bloodstream to tissues or organs. They work slowly over time and affect many different processes, including growth development, how your body gets energy from foods you eat, sexual function, reproduction, and mood. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers of the nervous system made by nerve cells. Neurotransmitters relay signals between nerve cells, also referred to as neurons. To send a message, a neuron releases a neurotransmitter into the space, the synaptic cleft, between it and the next cell. The neurotransmitter crosses the synapse and attaches to proteins, receptors, on the receiving neuron. This causes changes in the receiving cell. The message is delivered.
Proteins that help cell signaling are called receptors. They bind the signaling molecules and create a response for the body. There are three main classes of receptors, which are G-protein receptors, ion channel receptors, and enzyme-linked receptors. Most of these receptors are recognized as transmembrane proteins, since they are all on the cell membrane. Hormones and neurotransmitters act as types of messengers for the types of cells their message is going to. These receptors bind to messenger molecules and turn an external signal into an internal signal. These molecules never enter the cell, but affect the cell externally, since most are too big to cross the cell membrane by itself. The N-terminus of the protein receptor faces outside the cell membrane, while the C-terminus is inside the cell membrane. Hormones and transmitters connect to N-terminus of the protein, which sends an internal signal to perform the action needed.
There are two main types of neurotransmitters, inhibitory and excitatory. Excitatory neurotransmitters have excitatory effects on the neuron. They increase the likelihood that the neuron will fire an action potential. Some of the major excitatory neurotransmitters include epinephrine and norepinephrine. Inhibitory neurotransmitters have inhibitory effects on the neuron. They decrease the likelihood that the neuron will fire an action potential. Some of the major inhibitory neurotransmitters include serotonin and GABA. A special type of neurotransmitter is dopamine, because it is both inhibitory and excitatory. An action potential is part of the process that occurs during the firing of a neuron. During the action potential, part of the neural membrane opens to allow positively charged ions inside the cell and negatively charged ions out. Neurotransmitters influences transmembrane ion flow either to increase or to decrease the probability that the cell with which it comes in contact will produce an action potential. There are different types of protein signal pathways: ion channel opening, enzyme activation, and G-protein action. G-proteins, also known as guanine nucleotide binding proteins, are a family of proteins that act as molecular switches inside cells and are involved in transmitting signals from a variety of stimuli outside a cell to its interior. G-proteins communicate signals from hormone and neurotransmitters to cells and have been found to be regulators of ion channel function, presumably like the electron transport chain of cell respiration. Ion channel opening occurs when a molecule binds to the receptor and causes an internal signal to allow ions to flow through the channel. Enzyme activation occurs when a protein which has an enzyme attached to the C-terminus reacts with the receptor, which then activates the enzyme, and chemical reactions occur with the enzyme to create a signal. Protein signals that occur inside the cell are known as signal transduction cascades. Hormones and neurotransmitters are very important in keeping the human body and brain strong. If they are not able to reach the receptors, then a person's health can be at a great risk. This often happens when a person takes an illegal drug, for example, LSD. LSD chemically resembles serotonin and elicits its effect by binding to serotonin receptors. Sometimes LSD can inhibit certain receptors, but it also excites them by evoking a feeling of wakefulness and a startled response. The effects of LSD may feel good for a moment, but are obviously not good for your body. They prevent neurotransmitters and hormones from doing their job, which is vital to human life.